Attracta is a renowned psychotherapist with years of experience in the field of trauma, and she specialises in this area. So it's a privilege and an honour as a psychotherapist ourselves, Katie and Anne-Marie, to be in the presence of such an experienced therapist.
And we'll talk a lot about the importance of safety.
Yeah.
A felt sense of safety, how to build that up internally when you come from a place of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about Ireland and being a nation of storytellers, and the way people say the past is in the past.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that drives me nuts, because when you're working in the field of childhood trauma, the past is not in the past. The past is living in the nervous system, in the body.
Yeah.
And that takes years of work and a big commitment to the self to change that into a more joyful place in the body and to create a better life, a happier life for yourself. So that's the first thing I'd like to say, is that this work takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of time. When we're working with people that have experienced childhood trauma, it is vitally important that we get somebody with the right skill set and somebody that understands how to work with the body. Because with the body, yes, you can go into re-traumatization very quickly. Mm-hmm. But in the body, you also find the corrective emotional experience. But you need somebody very skilled to help you with that. Mm-hmm. I heard about this fella in Switzerland, David Berceli, who's a pioneer of working with the body and childhood trauma and my childhood. And that blew me away. Because in I went straight away with David Berceli to tell my story and that everything, and he started working with the body straight away. And when he started working with me, I started to understand it's not about pushing people back into the re-trauma. It's not about reliving the past, reliving the trauma, but it's about finding resources in the here and now, and the resources that we should have been given as children and we were never given. To regulate. And it was absolutely beautiful 5 years of my life going to Switzerland, and that changed my life, and it changed my whole understanding of how to work with trauma and how to work in a safe way with trauma. And that David Berceli used to say, it's not about, he said, reliving the past, but he said it's about reshaping history and creating a new way of being in the here and now. And we used to go home, we used to do 7.5 days training 3 times a year. We used to come home, and because the work was so deep, it would take us months to process and to integrate. And then I learned that, I say to my clients that come to me that this is slow work. The body is slow because the nervous system does what it knows. And the nervous system will go into fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn, and it's automatic. Like, it's neuroception, it's our autonomic nervous system just does that. And to change that, the body needs to feel that it's in a safe place, that I think one thing David Berceli used to say is, therapy is not fun by any means, but play is really important. Yeah. And to have a playful energy when you're doing trauma therapy, because play creates trust. And when a child has been traumatized and has lived, like as I say, I lived in a war zone, and a lot of my clients that come to see me have lived in war zones. And a child that lives in a war zone can't play. They're just frozen.
Yeah, they're frozen.
They're frozen. So part of the work as a trauma therapist is to create a playful energy with the client, and the client then starts to go, it's okay, I can trust this person, I can play a little bit.
There's something natural about this.
There's something natural.
There's something safe about it.
Yeah, the body starts to feel safe because they realise, I can play here, I can experience a little bit of safety and joy in my body. Bit of freedom, bit of expansion. I work a lot with movement now, helping the client to move breath, movement is really important in the therapy room. All these sort of resources, nature is vitally important, and it's free. And how do we use nature and help nature self-regulate us so that we can sit and relax in the body and feel, I'm safe, it's okay.
And that client that rang you up there and said that she had no real memory.
Yeah.
You know, if our trauma happens very early, even before we can talk, it gets locked in at that developmental stage.
Exactly.
And sometimes we might need to rock in the therapy room, you know, because we rocked as a child, or we, you know, so our body will, if you're in a safe enough, if you're being held enough by the therapist, the body will reveal so much.
Exactly.
Or even to the age, even though you mightn't have a memory, but
Yeah.
by looking at the body, it will tell us a lot.
The body tells us a lot. You don't really have to have many clear memories, because in the sessions of therapy, how the client is relating to themselves and relating to their loved ones tells us about the impact of trauma on their lives. And so the difficulties show up in the here and now.
That's where you're saying trauma is in the past, or the past is the past, and your point being it lives with us.
Yeah, it lives with us. I think sometimes that is used, you know, the past is in the past, or don't air your dirty laundry in public. I think these are all used to silence people, you know, to silence their stories.
Point looking back.
There's no point in looking back, look forward. Move on. I've heard a lot of people going, I don't want to talk about negativity, I'm going to talk about positivity. And then I sit
that's negativity by saying something like that.
Yeah, because then I sit and I think, well, then you don't really want to know about me, because, you know, I've had a lot of really hard times in my life, but I've had really great times. I've created a really happy life for myself. So then I kind of think, well, you don't really want to get to know me, so that's okay.
So then I have to suppress myself and compromise myself to be in a relationship with, you know, we need to be in spaces where we can be our true self.
Exactly.
And allow all our parts out.
That's it. The trauma, the traumatic history will show up, and you don't have to have many clear memories. You might have one clear memory, two clear memories, that's enough.
And the body.
And the body.
The sensations.
Yeah. And
go with that.
Exactly. And then, you know, you can do the work from there. And then it does involve around working with all of the different parts of us.
Do you think the therapeutic relationship is important for that work?
Vital. I talk about one of the things that happened to us when we were children, David Berceli talked about this a lot, is our attachment. And I mean, as you said, our attachment happens before we have conscious memory. And so when you're coming with a history of childhood trauma and neglect, the bonding has been disrupted. The attachment has been disrupted. So one of the first things I say, and I even said to this girl yesterday on the phone, the first step in our therapy work is to create a bond. That's the number one thing. And if I can create a bond with that client, and if that client can start to create a bond with me, despite everything that's happened to them, because the bonding has been broken and there's a lot of trauma attached to that, if I can do that and we can do that together, then we're flying.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
And, you know, going back to our training and our core training, sometimes that needs to happen.
Yeah.
That connection between client and therapist.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're moved. We're emotionally invested as well.
Yeah. That disruption to the bonding, to the attachment, was also a disruption to myself and to the compassion I could feel for myself. And if I didn't have that for myself, I couldn't sit with my clients and have the compassion for them. So then I learned that's where it all begins, is back to ourselves.
The healthy part is what brings us to therapy. And that's the part that's trying to save us.
Yeah, showing up.
Exactly.
And that's the love we got.
Yeah. That's inside of us. It's internalized somewhere. And that's the part of you that will propel you to go forward, get therapy. And also, like, a big part, I mean, I didn't know it at the time, but I see it now, like transgenerational trauma goes from generation to generation. And I didn't know that I was becoming a cycle breaker for my daughter. I didn't know it. I always knew I wanted to have a little girl especially.
Yeah.
I'm
Girly.
very pro women.
Yeah.
Because in this country, women and children have been treated despicably over the years and in the past, and still even right now in the here and now. So I didn't realise it at the time that I was clearing, as I was saying to Austin the other night, I was clearing the decks for my daughter so that I could become a cycle breaker and not pass on what I had learned.
Isn't that beautiful though?
Yeah, and now what's happened, a really unique thing's happened. I work a lot now with mothers who are becoming cycle breakers, and particularly for their little girls. It's really interesting. Women who have had really great courage, and these are all, like, the other thing about trauma is you can be a very high achiever. There's lots of high achievers out there. We're able to go out there and do lots of things, and the trauma is all hidden inside. Our internal world of falling apart, of freezing, of fight and flight. So these are all professional women going about their business in different jobs and whatever, and they're coming to me to break that cycle of trauma because they see how they are with their kids and they're getting angry and they're flying off the handle and different things, and they want to make it different.
Yeah, calmer parenting.
They want to be able to self-regulate and then help their children co-regulate. I believe it is. I believe that people in this line of work that have come from their own trauma and that are working with, and that have worked a lot on themselves and are working with helping other people, I do believe that this is how you change society, particularly in Ireland, because we're steeped in trauma. It's all over the place. The Magdalene laundries, the mother and baby homes. People don't want to talk about any of this stuff. They just want to shut it all down.
That was years ago. Again, going back.
It's not. I mean, the last Magdalene laundry was closed in 1996. It was just it's crazy. So this is like, I remember when I went to Switzerland, I thought, because David Berceli used to work with people from all over the world, they'd all go to him because he was a really gifted therapist.
Is he still training?
No, he died in 2021.
Oh.
Yeah, he was 90. And he was a pioneer in the world of neuroscience and helping people recover from trauma. So he got people coming from everywhere. Germany, France, America, Brazil, everybody travelled to work with him. And I remember saying to Austin one time, he's a humanitarian, because what he's doing is he's changing society, because they're going back into their communities, and they're going to treat their children better, and they're going to know that they can have a better life, and that's how we change society. And when I started going in 2008 over to David Berceli, I found my tears because I started to melt. Frozen parts of me started to melt, and I thought, oh my God, I can cry. And to this day, I love that I have my tears back and I can cry. And I allow my clients to see me being moved.
Well, I do too.
Yeah, because it is a gift that we can allow ourselves our tears. So I wrote this about that time, and I'll read it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
It's called Grief Showed Me the Way. I cried when I remembered being broken as a child, with nowhere to turn. I cried when I spoke about the adults who abused me when I was little. I cried out for my parents as I crawled through the debris of my horrors. I cried when I miscarried, blood trickling down my legs, my baby lost to me forever. I cried when I betrayed my lover, allowing my heart to break open 1,000,000 times a day. I sat with regret, I sat with anger, I sat with shame, I sat with fear. It was in these dark places, living with sorrow, that I lost everything, but found my kindness, my compassion, my softness, my life. After half a century, I finally stopped kicking and screaming within the confines of fear. My grief had shown me the way. Trauma. This is what I say to my clients. The past is not in the past, but the worst has already happened.
And you survived.
That's what I say. The worst has already happened. The war is over.
Mm.
The body doesn't know it yet. The body will get to know it.